Today, I built an AI interviewer around some of my favorite podcast hosts. And today I'm going to test out how it does interviewing me. There's a lot of fear I see floating around the internet right now. The idea that if we let AI write for us or think for us, we slowly stop being ourselves. You've been using AI heavily for a while now, building entire systems around it. Has any version of this fear shown up for you? That is a great question, and thank you for having me today. I agree this fear is prevalent, and I fall victim to it myself, where I am very susceptible to trying to get out of the work and doing the easy thing. So for me, it has been a struggle to try and maintain my humanity, my authenticity, my identity, style, taste, while using AI. And to answer your question, yeah, I am afraid of sort of losing a bit of myself to AI and just being consumed and spit out by it, just being a form of the product. Like if we look at the internet and what it's done to people who've had unfettered access to it for a long period of time, myself included, it doesn't exactly do healthy things to you. And so there is a certain risk that AI, as unhealthy or in some cases, could be more unhealthy for us. But for me, I have seen that it can be both the greatest learning tool and the greatest, for lack of a better term, unlearning tool. It can actively destroy your ability to learn, to think, to do critical thinking. So yeah, the fear is very real, but I think the fear is justified because there is a real present danger in using AI too much and for the wrong things. The phrase you used there that stuck out to me is it's the greatest learning tool and the greatest unlearning tool. Quite the sharp split. In your experience, what's actually happening differently between someone using AI to learn and someone who is having it unlearn them? What is the biggest difference between someone using AI to learn and someone who's using it and is actively unlearning? Well, for one, I believe that people who are using AI without thinking about what it's doing to them are actively having it unlearn on them. I think its default state is to do the task for you. Something to consider here is, what is learning? A definition, I believe, by Alex Hormozi is learning is same condition, new behavior. For example, you're trying to write something, and the process of writing is to take your thoughts, put them on paper so that another person reading them will be able to understand them coherently. But if we just go to an AI chatbot and ask it, say, hey, I've got this assignment. I need to write this, essay on a book. I didn't read the book. I didn't write the essay. But the thing can spit out a very good essay on that book. But did you learn anything? No. You actively unlearned things because you didn't challenge yourself to read the book. You didn't challenge yourself to battle with the ideas. You didn't challenge yourself to try and put them on paper. Counter to this, if you're actively reading a book and then you go to a chatbot and you start having it ask you questions about the book, be like, okay, you know everything about this book. You're an expert on this book. I want you to ask me questions to make sure that I understand the book. That is like having your own personal tutor about that specific book at your fingertips for free. And you can do this about anything. And if you don't know something, you can have it teach it to you, and you can have it keep dumbing it down to different levels, but you have to still put in the work to try and read through the questions, do the mental thought, and battle through the ideas, try and make sure you understand it, spit it back up so that you can communicate it to another person. If you're in this mental battle of learning, struggle, and trying to get better and understanding things, then you're learning. And if you can use AI to do that. But by default, I think AI is built to do stuff for you, which actively If you're not using the skill, you're losing the skill because your mind is efficient and doesn't want to hold on to things you're not using. So if you don't need this skill, it's going to be like, oh, this thing takes care of it for you. So why do we need to do it? We're just going to let that go. And then you forget how to learn things or write papers. And I think it's going to be a humongous problem with the prevalence of AI throughout everything right now. That Hormozy line, same condition, new behavior. It's a clean test. And the personal tutor flip is a move most people miss. Here's where I want to push though. The framing you've been building around AI is as a kind of director handing off the work that doesn't need to be done by a human, so you can focus on what does. But you just describe sounds like the opposite. The struggle is the point. So how do you decide which work you should still be doing yourself and which work you should hand off to AI? This is a great question. Thank you for asking. Is an active struggle I am working through at the moment. The litmus test I found is if it's something I want to get better at or want to maintain my ability of, I need to maintain some level of struggle in the process. Where I find the best places to hand off work to AI are places that are menial, repetitive tasks that I don't want to be good at anyway. My favorite example is meeting notes. I have the vast majority of my calls transcribed with AI, and it has freed me up to be more present and focused on the call at hand and not worried about taking notes, making sure I don't miss anything, like all these other little distractions that actually prevent me from being present on the call and engaged with the person I'm chatting with. And then afterwards, I can have this transcript go through and be like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. I need to follow up with this. Oh, I remembered I had talked about this, this, and that. Or I can be like, oh, I remember there was something about this in that call from like 2 weeks ago, but what was it? And then I can go back there, I can look, and boom, it's right there. So that kind of stuff, immensely helpful. It's not something I want to be good at anyway. So I outsource that. Things like tracking tasks, things like automated follow-up. But I found anything that really interacts with another human being needs to really have heavy human curation before it goes out, or a stupid amount of personalized context, which I don't have yet. So most people definitely don't have the amount of context to be able to automate something like their writing, because the people I've seen who are able to do that have been writing for years consistently every day and have thousands and thousands of pages worth of writing. And they've honed the skill to the point at which it's not something they really need to maintain too much. They do a bit of writing, and even just revising the stuff that the AI spits out is probably enough to maintain that level of writing skill. And really, depends on who they are, what their goal is. And like, I think Alex Hormozy is an excellent example of this because he has so much writing experience and context, and he knows exactly what his writing sounds like because he's broken it down, deconstructed it, and really understands it on a fundamental level that he's able to automate it in a way that's actually effective. So for a skill like writing that takes years and hundreds of hours of practice to get really good at, it's one of those things that outsourcing it to AI will actively hamper your ability to learn and improve on that skill because it takes away the difficulty that you're having with it. That's a clean rule. Struggle is required for what you want to keep, and hand off the rest. The Alex Hormozy point is sharp. You have to deconstruct the skill before you can automate it well. But that whole rule rests on one thing: knowing what you actually want to be good at. Most people genuinely don't know. So how do you figure out what skills are core to who you are versus which ones are just noise? you're willing to delegate? Another really good question. How do I figure out which skills are core to who I am versus which ones just noise? It's a tough question. There's certainly something intrinsic about the kind of work you want to do. It's the stuff that looks like work on the outside, and other people are like, wow, that's impressive that you do that. But you're like, I could do this every day if I needed to or wanted to, if I got the opportunity to. Like, I would run D&D games every day of the week because it's fun, entertaining, and like engaging. Like, if I could make money doing that, it would be astounding. And like the skills necessary for that are like storytelling, improv, world building, people management, social skills, event coordination. But if there are fiddly elements of it, like dictation, tracking, like a lot of the background setup, the like game systems, like there's a whole bunch of these like fiddly little elements in the background where like if I can have an AI assistant sort of help me with all these little things that are actually speed bumps in the way of me running these games. And running the games and playing with other people is like the human thing that I want to preserve and do more of. So if we're sort of deconstructing that and figuring out which portions of these are the ones that I want to keep versus which portions are the ones that I want to delegate, it's the ones that we like doing, want to do, challenge us, and we can feel they push us to grow. So I think that the trickiest distinction is keeping the ones that are actually slightly uncomfortable and pushing us outside of our comfort zone, but we know are good for us. Those are the trickiest ones because they're the ones that we want to automate away, but we shouldn't. For me, probably the best example of this is I want to automate my writing and my output and what a post looks like, but every time I try to get an AI to do it, I don't like it and I have to rewrite it anyway. So it's probably just worth it for me to do a decent amount of writing. And I've found a decent process where I do like dictation work with an AI that then sharpens and puts together my own words into a more coherent structure. And that has been helpful, but it still encourages me to be the one putting the thoughts out there and trying to work through my own thoughts and put them on paper in a coherent way. Let me pull something from the very beginning of our chat. You opened by admitting you're susceptible to taking the easy way out of the work. And just now, you described the trickiest category as the uncomfortable stuff that's good for us. The things we want to automate, but probably shouldn't. That's the same fight, right? So what does it look like in real time when you catch yourself reaching for AI on something you know you shouldn't be handing off? Yes, a very good observation, and you're right, this is the same struggle. And often I find it's a retroactive noticing. You kind of have to make the mistake and then look back and notice that you did it. At least for me, that seems to be how it works. I try to automate the thing. I've tried to make a style guide for how I write, but it turns out I don't know how I write because I haven't written enough to know what my own writing style is. So every time I try to get the AI to write a post for me or help me write a post, the first draft output is always substantially off to the point at which I'm like, I just need to rewrite the whole thing. And then when I'm sitting there rewriting the whole thing, I'm like, it probably would have been faster for me to just write it out to begin with. And since I've started like talking out my thoughts and posts, that has increased the process because I find the medium of voice to text is the fastest way for me to get thoughts out of my brain. And when I was doing a writing session, oddly enough, an AI writing session about this, where I had an AI assistant asking me questions to help me develop my own thoughts. And we were asking, is this cheating for my writing? Because we had the same question. Is this me cheating by having a writing assistant, AI writing assistant? But we came to the conclusion that no, this isn't. If I had the assistant writing for me, that would be cheating. But I don't do that. I'm still grappling with the thoughts in my head. The act of writing out on a sheet of paper is to get your thoughts out of your head so that you can like interact with them in a different space. It makes them more concrete. makes them more tangible in some way, right? Helps you process your thoughts. What I find happens for me, though, is as I'm working through a thoughts, if I then get an insight or a bit of understanding and I want to put it on the page, the act of writing or typing is too slow to get the full thought out of my head in enough time. And so the ability to dictate and just speak out what I'm thinking helps me actually dump stuff onto the page more effectively and hold on it. And then we're able to dig through it more effectively, parse through the pieces, hold on to this element and this element and see how they connect. And it has been so helpful to be able to have all of that stuff held in one place and have the AI assistant help me manage it, dig through it, reference it, is a profound boon to my learning and understanding that just wasn't possible or acceptable or like tangible even a year ago. So it's a bit of trial and error. You try automating things, and I've let myself try and automate all kinds of things. But you always need to look at the output and decide whether you think it is good or not. And if it repeatedly produces bad outputs despite the amount of training, that seems like a decent sign to me that you don't have enough knowledge about the skill to effectively automate it. The cheat question is at the heart of this whole conversation, I think. You landed on a clean line. AI asks you questions, feels fine. AI writing for you feels like cheating. But I want to push on why it lands as cheating in your gut and not just intellectually. What is it you'd actually be losing if you let AI write your posts for you? It's a good question. And the first thing that pops to my head is I'd be losing some sort of integrity, authenticity, a bit of my soul. There's already a lot of controversy around usage of AI. Is it ethical even to be using these tools when they are so environmentally destructive? They're going to cause massive economic, political, and social fallout if it continues on trajectories like this. It has the possibility to be a profound tool for good, but it also has the ability to be a profound tool for evil. What are we actually losing if we let AI write for us? It's the humanity of it all. AI doesn't know what it's like to be alive, at least not yet. It certainly hasn't gotten to a level of artificial intelligence, despite us calling it that. They're really sophisticated and they're really fancy, but they are still just glorified thinking rocks. And there is something inherently human that I don't think AI will ever have. Even if it does gain sentience, or if it has it now, it will have its own thing. It will not have the same kind of consciousness that we do. It will just be different because it is in a different medium that it experiences the world in. But humans, we share the way that we experience the world mostly. Very similar in many ways, which gives us this collective unconscious language that the words do not exist for. It's not something you can put into words. It's a feeling, it's a sensation, it's the vibe, it's life. It's what's it like to be alive, and AI doesn't know what that is. And so a lot of these things that when you outsource it, it feels like you're outsourcing a bit of your humanity and it's stealing a bit of your soul or whatever you want to call it, yourself, your-ness, whatever the essence is that is you. If you keep outsourcing that, what do you have left? You ended with a question you didn't actually answer. If you keep outsourcing, what do you have left? So let me turn that back on you. After all the systems you've built, all the things you've decided, refined to hand off, what's the part that stays yours, the piece AI doesn't get to touch no matter how good it gets? It's my curiosity, my understanding, my experience, my likes and dislikes, the taste, sort of my preferences, decisions in exploring this idea of what's left in the age of AI. The handful of things that keep coming up is like your style and taste, what you like and dislike, because what you like will attract you to other people who also like it, who are similar to you, who you will get along with and find your tribe. Human to human interaction, entertainment, story, fun. This element stays. It's not going anywhere. Like, I feel like fantasy, story, escapism is only going to become more popular, and the creation of something good is such a difficult task and takes such discernment, creativity, and like judgment that the skills to create something like that and an experience for another human being, these are the sorts of things that are going to remain and need to be preserved and can't be outsourced. So the answer is taste, curiosity, the discernment to make something good, the human to human story, those stay. The part that doesn't get touched by AI. Here's the question I want to leave the people listening with. If someone hearing this is feeling the same fear that AI might slowly erode the part of them that actually makes them themselves, what's the one thing they could start doing this week to protect it? I think, in my experience, the best way I've found to protect this is to continue to create stuff. In the age of AI, it's not going to be about what you can do, it's going to be about what you can make. AI can help you make just about anything, but it doesn't know what to make or what is good when it makes it. And so you have to come up with the idea and have it work through the process with you like an assistant, and then on the output, decide, is this good? Is it worth it? Should we keep making this? Does it need to be changed? Does it need to iterate? These are the steps in the AI process that I think are the most valuable and need to be preserved. Come up with an idea, try to make it with AI. Figure out what steps feel like you shouldn't give it to AI and what steps you should give it to AI, and learn. But if you just make stuff and then review it, see what's good and what's not, I think you will continue to develop this skill of creating stuff and discerning what is good and what is bad, what you like and what you don't like, to protect against this erosion. And you can do this whether you use AI or not. But if you're using AI, I highly recommend that you try to preserve the idea step and the review step. And I think the most important thing is to review what you're doing, and if the output feels like AI slop or something AI would have said, and it doesn't sound like you, then you know you made a mistake somewhere and you need to go fix it. But you know what you sound like, even if you can't produce it yet. You just gotta slowly refine it, and it seems like volume's the way to do that. So make stuff, make mistakes, and it'll be okay if you make a few AI-shaped posts. I have. And I'm claiming to be an authenticity expert. Or I'm trying to be anyway. That seems like the answer. Make stuff, preserve the ideation step and the review step. The discernment muscle is the thing AI can't grow for you. If it sounds like slop, you know you missed. Last thing before we close, for anyone listening who wants to follow what you're building, where can they find you, and what should they expect to see in the Authenticity Lab in the next few months? Thank you. This has been a great exercise. This was a great success. I might have to keep doing this. Yeah, on the Authenticity Lab, I am experimenting with figuring out how to help people figure out how to be themselves, go from invisible to being someone wants to get to know. And I have a free Skool community group that if you join, you get a free 30-minute session with me to see if I can help you figure out how to be more authentic, or in any other way that I can find a way to help and assist you, or just to get to connect and get to know one another. I've really been enjoying just connecting with new people. Join and come try to figure out how to be more of yourself and meet some pretty cool people along the way.